The two other things are there, we'll catch up with them. And a good lot of list for American thinkers. So, that's why I generally don't give a break. In the break, you get broken. Even if it is 4 hours, 5 hours, you should be sitting in the class only without getting up, because anyway this part would anyway become numb, so you will not be able to move it. So next time when we plan for a long session, we won't move. आपको कुछ दावत खाना है तो ला लो साथ में, इधर ही बैठ के खा लो, and then don't move out of your seat. Second one, sir. We were writing about British influence. The second category is exclusive anthropologists. Exclusive anthropologists. Whose scheme is that? Raheja. Okay. Right on. Indian culture and society. Indian culture and society provided academic raw material for the Western scholars who defined anthropology as the discipline to study the Eastern cultures. Write in the brackets. Reverse anthropology is a contemporary development where the non-Western scholars and general population are exposed to the Western culture to present their understanding of, write in quotes, the others. Continue writing. In reverse anthropology, the Western are the subject matter bracket close. Anthropologists such as Rivers and R.C. Brown produced tribal ethnographs of the tribes Toda and Andaman Islanders. They applied anthropological theory to present cultural explanations. The study of rivers was later revisited to incorporate diffusionistic explanations. Andaman Islanders of Brown remains a classic based on which social structure and related concepts were put forth by him. Thirdly, missionaries and anthropologists. Missionaries and anthropologists. The earliest encounter of missionaries with anthropology was the times when they provided secondary source of information of their travel diaries to ethnographers. Currently, anthropology is a foundation course for those intending to be the Christian missionaries. Anthropology is now termed as, right in quotes, a scientific approach to conduct missionary work unquote. It is because the discipline provides cultural knowledge and ways of obtaining data of the target group. Anthropological knowledge is useful to know those that are detrimental to pursue the spiritual task of spreading the gospel. That is, anthropology by assisting missionaries. Anthropology by assisting missionaries can help attaining cultural homogeneity in an otherwise multicultural society. Right in the next paragraph. The interaction between mission and anthropology are examined from the perspectives of number one, combination, two, commonalities, three, differences and opposition. Differences and opposition. In the case of combination, it is a rarity to find the missionaries combining their work with anthropology. Exceptions are found in Bording and Hoffman. They did not choose Bording and Hoffman. They did not choose either mission or anthropology. They opposed the perspective that anthropology is culturally damaging with the concept of cultural relativism. According to Hoffman, mission and anthropology possess certain commonalities. That is, one, having mastery over native language. Secondly, need to understand native customs. Including religion. Thirdly, being non-ethnocentric, right in the brackets. There is a general opposition from certain anthropologists in the brackets, for example, Vidyarthi, bracket close, that the missionaries have an anti-anthropological personality. of being ethnocentric. Fourthly, thorough understanding of the subject needs closer research. Continue in that. Hence, for Hoffman, where possible, missionaries have to experiment with participant observation. Fifthly, keeping minute details of the facts gathered on a daily basis. Right in the next paragraph. Boarding indicated a list of tasks to be taken up by the missionary on a regular basis. That is, writing field note, visiting the homes of the natives, especially the sick and ailing, maintaining field dictionary, keeping a record of native ecosystem, including the difficult seasons and natural occasions such as floods. Right in the next paragraph. In the context of opposition and differences, one can study the philosophical differences, For example, for anthropologists, missions attempt to change culture leading to ethnocides. Anthropology is overly critical of the missions for violating cultural relativism and for being ethnocentric. The practices such as polytheism, polygamy are discouraged by the mission. Patriarchy, monoculture are encouraged. Anthropologists believe that the Christian notion of free will, is a failed concept as the faith doesn't give freedom for individuals and culture groups to decide based on the free will. Right in the next paragraph. Yoginder Singh comments on the gap between scriptural Christianity and the way mission has functioned. The misunderstanding and interpretation of the terminology increased, resulting in a rejection of gospel in certain situations. He considers such an opposition to be more a political development rather than something to do with the faith of the people. The increasing violence against the Christian entities indicates the falling political tolerance and the fear of losing demographics. Rather than a zeal to maintain cultural diversity. Full stop. I took Yoginder Singh because I wanted that kind of an ending. It depends on you how you'd want to end. Okay? Nevertheless, those are the three major components within British impact on Indian anthropology. So the other one that I'm trying to show to you is the American influence. This is a question which is actually filled with small works. See, there is a very clear difference between the British and the American influence. Those people came first and did all the kinds of things that we have seen. Being the originators and somebody who wanted to do the holistic studies, they were trying to give the details of every damn thing in the culture. And it was not simply that they were using anthropology to understand us. In fact, they were using us to create a discipline of anthropology. So we are a subject as well as a source of the discipline. Had the Eastern cultures not be there, the discipline maybe would not have been there. So it's as simple as yesterday's talk we were talking about atheism. If the discussion of God was not there, you will not exist. So Eastern were necessary for the existence of the anthropology. And that is where the problem exists. When the Eastern or the simple is vanishing, when there is more of a monoculture coming up across the globe, what is the necessity of the discipline? That is the challenge. This is one. When it comes to the American influence, so far based on what we have discussed in various classes, you already know that it was a late invention. It was late to come. Though in the stream of things, even during the classical school, we found one or two people there, in the diffusionism, some people coming up. But all those are considered to be the original contributions of Europeans, not those given by the American universities. That is where we were talking about when we said culture personality school, when the rest of the globe was dealing with controversial or much bigger things like function, structure and kind of things. American thinkers were trying to focus on comparative studies of personalities. They were trying to understand what made us different. And what made us different, they were trying to do with some kind of, maybe if I could use the word, something like, a laboratory study kind of. So they were more focused on one particular genre. They are not generalizing. So culture personality school there, psychological anthropology, was the first major intervention or introduction by them. There are the other things. I actually do this kind of a structure so that examiner sees that, my God, you know that they have done so many things. Sometimes the examiner himself might get surprised that, see, American anthropologists did so much with you. So that is the reason why I try to give those kind of things. Now, I'll have to make a point there. The second major difference, first difference I said is they are more comprehensive, the British are more comprehensive, ethnographical and all that stuff. These people were mostly tuned to psychological studies, mostly doing with maybe laboratory kind of a study. The second major difference is the British focus was on not simply simple but tribal societies. On the other hand, American focus was on the mainstream society. Within the mainstream, are you there, sir? I know it's a sleeping time. Most of us are sleeping. Please don't. मुझे भी नींद आ रही है. मुझे लग रहा है ऐसे बिस्तर डाल लो और सो जाओ. आप उधर सो रहे हो, मैं इधर सो रही हूँ. खराटों से पूरा उड़ रहा है. Kind of. How nice it would be. Sleeping partners, kind of. जैसा. Nice word actually. Sleeping partners. क्या कर रहे हैं? Sleeping partners. Kind of. तो मत सोइएगा प्लीज. दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई आई टेल द स्टूडेंट्स कभी कभी टीचर भी बन जाओ. if you come on this side of the classroom, you will understand the pain what goes on here and here. जब सो रहा है कोई खराटे लेके क्लास में, क्या गुजरती होगी दिल में, kind of. कोई नहीं. But then I give you complete freedom. You have your free will. आप जो चाहे कर सकते हो. उठ गए सब लोग, जिसका भी नींद आ रहा था. फ्रंट बेंच ले कुछ. No. The second thing I was telling was, British were majorly focusing on the tribe, whereas the Americans' focus was on the mainstream. Within the mainstream, they found categories. You remember Robert Redfield? No? Robert Redfield, kya tha? What was the concept? Great and little tradition. Huh? In the great and little tradition concept, we found that he was using particular varieties. Jaisa folk hai, urban hai, rural hai. So within the mainstream, he was giving us categorizations of rural and urban. Folk may be a part of anywhere. No? You can have a folk within urban, you can have folk within rural, so I am not talking about that. The way he had used the term was very different. For him, folk was something like more localized. But I am not taking it that way. So American thinkers were focusing mostly on the mainstream with a categorization of the mainstream. So when it is applied to India, mainstream becomes the caste. That's where we say the second one there. Okay? And similar to what they had done in Mexican society, Robert Redfield's Mexican Society of the Continuum, they tried to explain the tribe caste studies to show how the linkages are. So exclusive tribe studies they were not doing. Even if tribe was incorporated, the incorporation was based on diffusionistic orientation. Are you there, sir? Yes or no? Jiju? Time बहुत खराब चल रहा है यार. नहीं? Okay. You and me know, we both know what's happening. Those are the thinkers that you should be incorporating. So I was talking about this. Certain names seem to have been repeated. होता है. Any names that you know apart from Redfield? No, great. Milton Singer. दोनों ही थर्मस वाले कंपनी से, सिंगर भी है, मिल्टन भी है. First time when I was reading anthropology as a student, I used to think Milton यहीं से लिए होंगे, kind of. So I was saying that this was the major focus of them, that is mainstream societies. Within the mainstream, there are categories, urban, rural, and if at all tribe had to be incorporated, that was from the perspective of cultural diffusion and interaction. I have to tell you something here, which is also a very interesting difference between the British and the American. Looking at this difference, we feel much more closer to the British. होता है ना कभी मतलब, though somebody is your enemy, because you are traveling together for a long time, एक तरह का affinity बन जाता है, no? Enemy and yourself, you are actually co-travelers. You get a feel after a while that without him, without the enemy, you cannot survive. So how much ever you consider British to be your enemy or you were treated as a colony, when compared to the British, when compared to the Americans, you feel more closer to them. Also in the context of study, the British, because they have spent a lot of time working or doing whatever, they knew every specific aspect of yours, every detail they knew. On the other hand, the Americans, most of them came here to do their papers, to do their kind of part-time researches. So the interest was very short-living, rather. I should call it short-living interest. So they were consider this part of the country as a source to finish their research papers. So generally, it was the other way around in the case of the British. They came here because of the fondness or because of whatever employment. They came here, they stayed, they came along with the people. I mean, they came in contact with the people. As a result, they wrote. On the other hand, these people had to write something, and then they chose who is the biggest, whoever available. And then they were trying to pick up, and this one. And when regions were picked up for study, unlike the British, the Americans focused on logistical support. They focused on logistical support. So whichever region, whichever village that they were trying to choose, that was based on a continuation of the credential from the previous time. So if a senior had done a research at one place, you tend to choose that particular place. That's what I mean by logistical support and the kind of tradition of visiting a place. You remember we told these stories of the cow dung worship. What was the place? गोवर्धन गिरी ठीक है, ये एक पर्टिकुलर टाउन था, हाँ, किशनगढ़. क्या बताए, आप क्या बताए, हाँ, कुछ बताए, तो पेलिंद अकड़ा, किशनगढ़, हाँ. So Kishangarh was the place that was visited by a good number of people. I told you at that time that everybody was making a beeline to Kishangarh. All the concepts of Hinduism seem to have originated from Kishangarh only, because you are seeing Kishangarh. It can actually be compared to pan-Egyptian model, where pan-Egyptian thinkers were thinking that Egypt was giving everything. For these people, just because they have landed in Kishangarh, everything seems to be emerging from Kishangarh only. So very narrow study, short duration, non-participant, jitna gali dena hai de sakte ho. Good numbers. लिखिए फिर देखते हैं क्या है. This is the reason why many students don't attempt the question. घर वालों के नाम याद नहीं रह रहे, किस किस के याद रखेंगे. हाँ, कुछ घरानों में ऐसे होता है ना कि पेट नेम्स जो होते हैं वो याद रहते, ओरिजिनल नेम्स याद नहीं रहते. चुन्नू मुन्नू ही याद रहता है, उसका ओरिजिनल नाम याद नहीं रहता. Oscar Louis, you knew him. Opler, I don't know. Mackim Marriott, Colenda. Colenda you came across? No? कोई नहीं. Orenstein. Those are some names. Can I go, sir? In political anthropology, that's a popular name, Oscar Louis. मिस हो गए क्या? Did you miss? Okay, you're not writing. Okay, fine. That was. Too much in Rasalu. Those were a few other names. But free will kadamma, nee name cheppetatuntadi. They are in the free will. So these were the major things. We try to make a small note on each of them, because it is here that you need to know what were the societies they studied. Oscar Louis, so I'll quietly try giving you something, just wait. अच्छा, ये field studies mark कीजिएगा. Hitchcock, Colenda, Redstaff. You go to that same picture, I think there you can add those names. Khalapur, UP. Harold Gould had a good number of places coming up. Beals was studying in Namhalli. Harper, and then some people going to Gujarat. And those couldn't go anywhere were going to Bihar. I know of late path to UPSC is becoming very, very difficult, no? Feeling that the path to UPSC is becoming more and more difficult now with so many facts coming up. Don't worry, you have several non-fact based things to talk about in the next few days. That's why it is very interesting to pick up areas to study. जैसे आपका course complete होता है, one question people might come up is कहाँ से शुरू करूँ? अब ये अच्छा सवाल है, इससे पता चलता है कि आपने शुरू ही नहीं की. That's a different thing. But then, even for the revision's sake, if I have to say, you can actually pick up from anywhere. जैसे कि आपको लगता है कि हाँ, I'm in a mood to study many facts. You can pick up things like this. Or maybe you want to draw pictures, more pictures you want to draw. You come with something else. So based on your mood, you can pick up. So we have stuff for every mood. Off mood hai, on mood hai, middle of the mood hai, kind of whatever. लिखिएगा. I'm only giving you the basic idea about each of those books. Number one, Oscar Louis. Oscar Louis, area of study was Rampur, UP. Rampur, because every state has got one Rampur. And study of general culture traits. Study of general culture traits of Indian villages. Which he published in, write the name of the book, Group Dynamics. Group Dynamics in North Indian Village. Group Dynamics in North Indian Village, 1954. There is the second book that he has written, Life in a North Indian Village. Life in a North Indian Village. Write a note on that book. The book examined. Jajmani system. Inter-caste conflicts. Cooperation. Significance of rituals and festivals. Significance of rituals and festivals. I think that should do. I mean, I give the place, the book, what the book says. The second one is Maurice Opler. Maurice Opler. Rampur and Madhepura villages. Rampur and Madhepura villages. His area of work, conducting training programs. Conducting training programs for Indian and American anthropologists in village studies. Continue with him. He wrote extensively on Jajmani system, and inter-caste relations. Third one, so there's a small spelling error there. W-A-R-O-W-I-E. There is I missing there. Roy. The third fellow there, Roy. ठीक है. Senapur village of UP. Senapur village. Area of study was culture change in Indian village. Culture change in Indian village. Make him marry it. You can write an essay on him, right? Make him marry it. Essay ante rendu sentences gaadu. Make him marry it. Studied Kishangarh. Kishangarh developed the concepts of universalization and parochialization. Universalization and parochialization to explain culture change. Then John Hitchcock. John Hitchcock. Khalapur village, Khala. Khalapur village, and his subject was Rajput community, study of Rajput community, their belief system, and mechanisms of dissent. How do you define dissent? How do you define dissent? మాకు తెలియదు పో అన్నట్టు అది తిప్పొద్దండి. Dissent, how do you define dissent? Ma? I only said dissent. Glass is full of water. Great. Dissent is a mechanism of connecting one with one's ancestors. How an individual is connected to an ancestor, that may be in a cultural continuation or things in a lineage, etc., are examples of dissent. How you are tracing your descent is that. How you are tracing your descent is lineage, clan, etc. But descent is something like how you are connecting yourself with the previous generations or ancestors. You remember anything in descent में कुछ types थे? एक बताइए. लिखिए sir, the next one, Kolenda. Kolenda. The same place, Khalapur village. Their universe is very small actually. Khalapur village, Kolenda. Kolenda, male or female? On what basis you are concluding? On what basis you are concluding? Like Malinowski is a female. No? लास्ट में ई आई है तो फीमेल ही है ना. देखिए एक बार गूगल करके देखिए. केवो एलियन डी है, एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट. We should actually have some unisex names also for the children for the future, because we never know what they choose later. Because everything is going to happen at the free will eventually. So we should have, okay, Pauline Kolenda, right? Likh lijiye, please. Pauline Kolenda, as she is called. Especially, South India is known for a transgender community, increasing numbers of transgenders. So this is one of the things that we are going to study later in the chromosomal things. It is not simply by nature things are happening. We, in a way, I mean, and don't get us wrong, we are all good people here. We, in a way, are more free-spirited people. I mean, in the sense that we are more literate people, you know that. We are more literate people. We have places with more than 80%, 90% literacy. We have to somewhere or the other show our level of education and literacy. So we show there, kind of. So increasing number of people are making a choice. So you must be knowing Chennai is the major center where all the surgical things happen, and then you see that those are the people much more progressive than the rest of the country. There are two regions that are very progressive. One you have Bengal, the other you have the Tamil country there. Bengalis का थोड़ा limit होता है, यहाँ पर unlimited है. Okay, I didn't say anything. Don't take me wrong, sir. I'm a Tamilian here. एक लड़की थी उधर बैठी हुई. I'm so sorry, I don't know where she has gone. Thankfully, she didn't. She's not there in the class. Don't tell her. पहले ही तमिल वाले kind of लुंगी उठाएंगे फिर. Would actually very difficult to handle, kind of. Of course, we will be having towards the end of the course, we will try to explain the difference between a lungi and the dhoti, because people don't understand the difference between a lungi and the dhoti. Kada? Those two are different varieties actually. Rendu airiga untai, but that's a different thing. I love airy things, that's why I wear sari most of the time. Not because I'm more traditional, kind of aram. Likhiyega. Kolanda, Khalapur village. She used the concepts of karma and rebirth. We still didn't do them, sir. Used the concepts of karma and rebirth to present the ethnograph of the sweeper castes. Of sweeper castes. She explained social change among them, with increasing governmental schemes, including reservation. You have the other person there, Ralph Redstaff, Khalapur. सब अपना कुछ रख के जाते हैं. Khalapur. He studied political systems. Political systems. Write the name of the book. Village government in India. Village government in India. He presented the nature of traditional political system. Traditional political system. Its functions and changes due to culture contact. Harold Gould. You have written 3 different names there. Can you turn back and see? 3 different places. Harold Gould, Sherpur, Faizabad. Harold Gould. Sir, we are going to use him very liberally in the classes later. Right down. Gould was an authority on study of Jajmani system. Study of Jajmani system, interdependence of castes. Interdependence of castes. Continue there. He extended the study to analyze the interdependence of village and urban societies his study resembled great and little traditions. He described peasant societies, as little traditions, and urban societies as great traditions. You have the other one there, A.R. Beals, Mysore State, Namhalli. Beals. He presented holistic study of Indian village. From a social structure perspective. His ethnograph was a true comprehensive work of the British variety. The next one there, Harper, Mysore. He studied Jajmani system, and reported on changes in the economic aspects. We still do not know what Jajmani is. I am pushing that towards the end of your course. Jajmani system, हाँ वो हुआ था, बहुत कुछ और बाकी है. Political anthropology, Oscar Louis. Leadership studies in village India. He wrote about the role of kinship, and caste in decision making in rural India. Continue there. Vidyarthi's work, LP Vidyarthi's work, right in quotes, dynamics of tribal leadership in rural India, unquote, was based on Oscar Louis' work. Continue there. Accordingly, Vidyarthi presented tribal, traditional, and modern leadership systems and changes in them in India across time. That is the last one, psychological anthropology. Psychological anthropology. Under culture personality school, psychological studies incorporating personality types and racial differences were conducted for the first time in India. Geetlesteed in the book Hindu Village in Gujarat, presented psychological problems emerging out of caste oppression. Ruth Benedict provided research methodology and guidance to D.N. Majumdar in writing A Tribe in Transition, and A Fortune of Primitive Tribe. Right, a last remark so that we conclude it there. American anthropology with its non-tribal focus, introduced new content to study culture. The subject matter is more contemporary with the incorporation of faster modes of culture contact, such as urbanism, globalization, and tendencies of emergence of contra-culture. There's a global, it's especially in the third world, that if you are doing something against your own culture, that is fashion. That's the meaning of it, contra-culture. That's how things are. You're all good? Something more?
Doing something against your own culture.
Want something more? Should I continue? Orenstein's study was mostly in the South Indian states. Like, Madras state was there and Mysore. His area of focus was changing relationships between religious groups. So he was looking at Islamic and Hindu populations. Morning we will be meeting at 11 o'clock tomorrow, ठीक है? 11 to 2 as usual. And थोड़ा सा एक आध चीज़ें हैं which I will be flashing in the first half hour or so, or less than half hour. कुछ summaries देना है, जैसे LP विद्यार्थी is there, kind of. And then we will be taking you to the topic number 10 in your syllabus, chapter 1, evolution of growth studies in anthropology. Tomorrow when you come, get your physical anthropology book. Technically they call it 67, class 67. We were looking at paper 2. We are in chapter 4. We concluded on British anthropology and American influence. We are exclusively looking at our class discussion. Thank you. Have a great weekend.